This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so let us discuss about our next master data, that is the vendor master data. Now, what is the meaning of the vendor master data? See, the vendor master data is nothing but it is going to have all the details about the vendor, like what is the vendor name, and then what is the vendor description, and then his address details, payment accounts, transactions. So each and everything about the vendor, it is going to be there in the vendor master data. And the prerequisites are vendor account group and then number ranges. So these two are the prerequisites for the vendor master data. Okay. So now let us discuss about what is the meaning of this vendor account group. So before that, we need to discuss one more thing, that is the types of vendors. What are all the types of vendors we are going to have in the SAP? There are four types of vendors. One is regular vendor, and the second one is one-time vendor, and the third one is fixed vendor, and the fourth one is service vendor. So these are the four types of vendors we are going to have in the SAP. Now, what is the meaning of a regular vendor? Shankar, able to hear me, right? Hello. Can someone please confirm whether you guys able to hear me or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a minute. Okay. So first of all, what is the meaning of this regular vendor? See, regular vendor is nothing but when the company is doing business with the vendor, okay, at 24 by 7, at 24 by 7, the company is going to do business with the vendor. So it means the whenever the company want to get some material, okay, always they are going to get the material from this particular vendor only. Okay, so those vendors are called as the regular vendor. So regular vendor means the company is going to do the procurement with the vendor at 24 by 7. Okay. So whenever we got issues with the regular vendor, issues in the sense, for suppose if there is any natural calamities, okay, or as for suppose if there is any production issue at the regular vendor. So at that point of time, we are unable to get the material from the regular vendor, right? At that point of time, the company will be going for the one-time vendor. From the name itself, we can see, right? It is a one-time. So it means only once or twice until the issues were resolved. Until the issues were resolved, with that regular vendor. Okay, so we are going with this one time vendor. So for suppose when the company is doing the procurement with this one time vendor, so once the issues were resolved with the regular vendor, so at that point of time again we are going to the procurement from this regular vendor only. And then after some time, whenever we got any issues with the regular vendor, again we are going to get the material from the one-time vendor. Okay. So unless and until there is an issue with the regular vendor, okay, we are going to do the procurement with the regular vendor only. If there is an issue, so then we are going with the one-time vendor. Okay, so that is the difference between the regular and the one-time vendor. Now, what is the meaning of a fixed vendor? Fixed vendor means the company want to procure a particular material from a particular vendor, and those vendors will be called as a fixed vendors. Why? Because there will be multiple issues. Maybe it is like, maybe due to some mutual relationship or as some kind of trust. Okay, so whatever it might be, the company want to do a procurement for a particular material from a particular vendor only, and those vendors will be called as the fixed vendors in SAP. Now, what is the meaning of a service vendor? Service vendor is nothing but, for suppose in our company we are going to have systems, we are going to have laptops, and then we are going to have some equipment, right? So whenever you, I mean, whenever there are repairs or else whenever we need service with respect to those equipments, okay, we are going to call the service vendor. So from the service vendor location, some people will come to the company and then they are going to do the repairs or the services. So those vendors are called as the service vendors. Okay. So these are the types of vendors we are going to have in the SAP. And if you want to create a vendor account group, we are going to create the vendor account group something like we are going to create regular vendor account group. We are going to create one-time vendor account group. We are going to create fixed vendor account group, and we are going to create a service vendor account group. Okay. For suppose if you want to create the vendor master data, for suppose if you want to create a vendor and that vendor is a regular vendor, so we need to choose the vendor account group as a regular vendor account group. So whatever the vendor you are creating, so that is going to be called as a regular vendor account group. Likewise, in the material master data, if you are create, I mean, like if you want to create a raw material, we need to select the raw material type, right? So here also, if you want to create a regular vendor, we need to select the regular vendor account group. Okay, so that is the meaning of a vendor account group. And here we are going to create the number ranges. And as I said in yesterday's session, we are going to have two types of number assignment, right? One is internal, another one is external. So whatever the number assignment your client wants, so we are going with this, but majorly in the real time, it is going to be the internal number assignment. So once you create the number assignment, so we are going to have a serial number. So that serial number you are going to assign with the regular vendor, with the vendor account group. So that whenever you are creating the vendor master data, you are going to select the respective vendor account group, right? So based on that, the system is going to give the number from these number ranges to your vendor. Okay. So now let us see how to create the vendor master data. Before that, the T codes. These T codes are very, very important. The T code to create a vendor master data is XK01. The T code to change the vendor master data is XK02. The T code to display the vendor master data is XK03. So these are the T codes for the vendor master data. Now let us see how to create. Let me log in into the SAP. Go to SPRO, click on the IMG. Now Logistics General, Business Partner, Vendors, Control, define account groups and field selection. Now go inside that. So now, if you want, you can just copy the standard ones like 0002, okay, or else you can copy some other standard ones like 0001, 0002, or something like that, or else you can just click on the new entries also. Whatever it is, both will take you to the same screen. But if you are copying, we need to just change the ID and the name. So here we are going to mention it as something like regular vendor. So now click on the save button. Click on the continue, come back. So now what we are going to do, we are going to create the number ranges, right? So for that, we need to go inside to this define number ranges for vendor master and then click on the intervals. Now here, first let me choose what are the serial numbers are available. Serial numbers means are this, okay? So whenever you are creating the number ranges, so there will be one serial number. So this serial number only we are going to assign it to the vendor account group. So I think the 233 is there. Let me check the free intervals first. So these are the available intervals. Let me click on the insert, enter the serial number 32. And this serial number also, it should be unique. Why? Because we are going to assign it to the vendor account group, right? So it should be in a unique status. So I'm going to take some 4 numbers only. If you want to make it as an external number assignment, you need to give the tick mark, or else you can make it as an internal number assignment. One more thing, number range status. What is the meaning of this number range status? See, for suppose here we can, here we can be able to see the numbers, right? Because whatever the number recently was assigned to this vendor, so that number you can be able to see in this number range status. If you see here, for this 02 serial number, okay, recently someone has created a vendor master data. So the system has assigned this number to that particular vendor master. Okay. So the recent number we can be able to see in this number range status. But here it is showing as 0, right? So it means that till we have not assigned this number ranges to any group, and we have not created any vendor master data with respect to the group, right? So it is showing as 0. But if you are seeing any number here, so it means that it is the latest number which was assigned to the respective thing. Now click on the save button and then click on the continue. Now we need to assign the number ranges to the vendor account group, right? So for that, go to the number range and then go to the position, enter your group, so for suppose if this is my group, I'm going to enter the serial number and then click on the save button and then click on the continue. So like this, whatever the vendor account groups we have created, okay, so either you are going to maintain the same number range for all the vendor account groups, even in the middle master data also, we can assign the same number range to all the material types, but it depends upon the client requirement. So whatever your client say, for suppose if your client asked you to make the number range the same for all the material types, so you can go ahead with that. Or else, if your client wants to have a different material types for the different number ranges, so that also we can be able to do. Okay. So like this, we are going to create the prerequisites for the vendor master data. Let us see how to create the vendor master. For that, the navigation is you need to come to this SAP Easy Access. Here you need to go to the logistics. Inside that, go to the materials management, go to the purchasing, master data, vendor, central, click on the create. So this is the XK01 screen which we have talked about. Okay, XK01 is the create vendor master data, right? Now enter the company code and then enter the purchasing organizational details and then enter a vendor account group. Now click on the enter button. So this is the address related. Okay, so we are going to enter the address information with respect to the vendor. One more thing, vendor master data will be containing 70% of the data which belong to the finance and controlling. So it means most of the data in this vendor master data belongs to the accounts, payment, transaction related. Okay, so in the real time, according to the client requirement, we are going to take care of this address related and the purchasing related data. Okay, and the accounting data, the accounting data, it is going to be taken care by the finance and controlling people. But in some of the projects, what they are going to do is they are going to assign, they are going to ask the consultants itself to enter all the data with respect to this vendor master data. So whatever the client has requested, we are going to do that, right? Okay. So according to their requirement, so either we can enter all the data, or else we can just create this address and the purchasing, the purchasing data, and then we can give this vendor numbers to the finance and controlling. So those people, they are going to enter this the accounting related data. Okay. Now here select the title and then enter some description here. Name. So here the search term is nothing but a short name for this respective vendor. Now enter the country, that is IN. So these are the address details, but in the real time you need to fill all the fields. Why? Because the client is going to send you each and every detail. We need to fill that. Now click on the enter button. Now, so here if you see this tax information and all, it is going to be taken care by the finance people. Click on enter, and this bank related information, it is going to be taken care by the finance only. Click on enter, and this first name and last name, it is not mandatory. Click on enter. But here this accounting information also, it is going to be taken care by the finance people. But the thing is, what is the meaning of a reconciliation account? Why we are going to discuss about this reconciliation account means it is a mandatory field here. Reconciliation account, it is nothing but a GL account. We have discussed it right in our yesterday session. GL account is nothing but general ledger account. If the company want to send the payment to the vendor, so they are going to send to this GL account, and from the GL account, the amount, the amount it is going to be credited into the vendor account. Okay. So here, normally the GL accounts, as I said, those were going to be created by the finance people by using the T code, that is FS00. FS00, it is a T code to create a GL accounts that is going to be done by the finance people. So here we are going to get the reconciliation account from the finance, but we are having the standard reconciliation account, that is 160000. We can use this for now. And then if you click on the enter button, and these transactions also, it is going to be taken care by the finance. Now click on the enter button, again it is going to be taken care by the finance only. So at last we came to the purchasing data. It is going to be handled by the consultants. Now what is the order currency? Order currency in the sense, what is the currency that the vendor is expecting? So we are going to enter the respective currency of the vendor. Now what is the meaning of this terms of payment? Terms of payment, okay, or payment terms, both are same. It means, for suppose if you get the material from the vendor, okay, so once you get the material, if you are doing the payment within the 5 days, you are going to get some 20% discount. If you are doing the payment within 10 days, you are going to get some 10% discount. If you are doing the payment within 30 days, you are going to get some only 5 or 4% discount. If you are paying after 30 days, you are not going to get any discount from the vendor. So like this, we are going to have the payment terms and conditions, so that we are going to define here. So here, if you go to the drop down, as I said, we are having multiple payment terms. Like if you pay within 14 days, you are going to get 3% cash discount. If you are paying some 30 days, 2% cash discount. So like this, we are going to have some terms of payment according to the, according to the agreement, whatever it is made in between the vendor and the purchasing organization, we are going to choose according to that. Now, what is the meaning of this Incoterms? Incoterms are nothing but a shipping instructions. Shipping instruction in the sense, are we going to get the material by ship, by waterways or roadways or railways or airways, or as whether it is cash on delivery. So, all these and all we are going to define in this Incoterms. Okay. So here, if you go to drop down, we are having multiple options. Okay, so COD and then free ship. Okay, so something like this. We are going to have the Incoterm. So we are going to select any of the Incoterm here, and then you are going to mention the description. And then if you see, there is a checkbox like GR based invoice verification. What is the meaning of this GR based invoice verification? See, if you put the tick mark here, we cannot be able to do the invoice until and unless the goods receipt is completed. Okay, if you remove the tick mark, it means that there is no need to, there is no need to wait for the GR. We can directly do the invoice. Okay, normally in the real time, mostly it will be the GR based invoice verification, but according to the client requirement, we are going to change this. Now, what is the meaning of this acknowledgement required? Acknowledgement required is nothing but when you send the purchase order to the vendor need to send confirmation, right? The vendor need to send some confirmation to the company stating that he has received the purchase order. So if you give the tick mark here, it means that the vendor need to send the some kind of confirmation after receiving the purchase order to the company. Now see, automatic purchase order. Next we have discussed it, right? If you want to use the material in your automatic purchase order, we need to do the checkbox. Similarly, if you want to use this vendor in your automatic PO creation, we need to do the checkbox here. Unless and until we give the checkbox in the material master data and the vendor master data, we cannot be able to use this material and the vendor in the automatic PO creation. Now, what is the meaning of this ABC indicator? ABC indicator is nothing but A indicator stands for top priority, B indicator stands for normal priority, C indicator stands for low priority. Okay, so this vendor, whether he is a topmost priority or not, or it's normal priority or it's a low priority, so that is going to be decided based on this this ABC indicators. So now if you click on the save button, Now see, a vendor master data got created. If you want to change the vendor master data, there is no need to enter here like XT02. Why? Because directly you can click on the vendor, you can click on the change button. Now see what happens. Once you click on the change, here we can see the general data, company code data, and then purchasing organization data. So as I said, as an consultant, we are going to take care of the general data and the purchasing organization data. And the finance and controlling people, they are going to take care of this company code data. Now, if you are in change mode or else if you are in display mode, so here we need to select like which data that we want to change or display. So according to that, the system is going to open that respective screen. Now see, click on the enter button. Now see, it took you directly to the respective screen. So like this, according to the requirement or according to your necessity, we are going to select the respective screen so that we can be able to change or else we can be able to display this respective vendor master data. Okay, so this is about the vendor master data that we are going to have in the material management. And these T codes are very, very, very important. And at the time of entry, they will ask like, what is the material master data? And what are the prerequisites for the material master data? And what is the material type? And what are the number ranges? What are the different types of number assignments we are having? And then they will ask like, what are the T codes for the material master data? And then what are all the views that belongs to the material management? In those views, what are all the important fields we are going to have? Where you are going to assign the purchasing group to a material, so where you are going to maintain the valuation class. Okay, so these kind of things they are going to ask in the material master data. Similarly, they will ask like what is the vendor master data and what are the prerequisites for the vendor master data, and then what are the types of the vendors. Okay, and then they will ask like what are all the fields we are going to have in this purchasing data. Okay, so these kind of things they are going to ask in the vendor master data. Okay, so that's it about the vendor master data. Anyone have any doubts until now? Okay, just give me 2 minutes. I will be back. Okay, so let us discuss about our next master data, that is a purchasing info record. Now, what is the meaning of this purchasing info record? See, purchasing info record is nothing but, see, when some end user, okay, when some end user or else the business people, when he's trying to create a purchase order, So he need to enter the price manually. So when he's entering the price manually, that may lead to some human errors. So what SAP did is, so they have configured this purchasing info record. So because of that, so whenever we try to create a purchase order, the price will be automatically going to be populated from this purchasing info record. How it is going to be populated? How means? Actually, in the purchase order, what is the information we are going to enter? What is the material that is in shortage? And also how much is the quantity we need? And for which plant and store location we need that material? Within which delivery date we are going to get that material? And also, I mean, who is the vendor going to send this material? And also how much is the price does the vendor is expecting? So these kind of information will be there in the purchase order, right? We are going to create a purchasing info record with the material and the vendor combination. We are going to create a purchasing info record with the material and the vendor combination. So once you create a purchasing info record with the material and the vendor combination, for suppose here the material is 1, 2, 3, 4, and the vendor is something like ABCD. Okay. Now inside the purchasing info record, you are going to mention like for one quantity, the price is some 100 rupees. But you are trying to, I mean, once you have maintained a purchasing info record, you are trying to create a PO. In that PO, you have entered this material number and then this vendor. So now what is going to happen? And then you have maintained the quantity as some 100. You need some 100 quantity. Now how the price is going to be populated? Since here we have created a purchasing info record with this material and the vendor combination. So if this combination got repeated in a purchase order, so then the price will be automatically populated from this purchasing info record. But here for one quantity it is 100 rupees, but here it is 100 quantity, right? The system is going to do the calculations at back end. Finally, you are going to get some price here, that is 10,000 rupees. So like this, the system is going to do the internal calculations and then we can be able to get the price for this 100 quantity automatically from the purchasing info record. So that is the use of a purchasing info record. So we are going to get the price automatically into the purchase order without entering any manual data. So this is the use of a purchasing info record. The T code to create a purchasing info record is ME11. These are very important. And ME12 it is to change. ME13 it is to display. So these are the T codes for the purchasing info record. Okay. Now let us see how to create a purchasing info record in the system. Let me log in again. So whenever you keep the SAP system for some 2 minutes or else some 1 minute, just like that without doing anything, it will get automatically logged off. Why? Because it is a security issue. Even in the real time also, if you keep the system like that for some 2 minutes or some 1 minute, something like that, it will get logged off automatically. So then we need to enter the credentials again. So here, go to SPRO, no need. Go to the logistics and then go to the materials management, go to the purchasing, master data, info record, create. So this is the same screen for the ME11. Okay. Now see here, if you want to create an info record, we need to enter the vendor number, we need to enter the material number, we need to enter the purchasing organization, and then we need to enter the plant details. But there is an info category here. What is the meaning of this? Info category is nothing but for which procurement process we are going to create this purchasing info record. Why? Because see the PO which I am creating, that is a normal purchase order. Normal purchase order in the sense which is going to do the normal procurement process. Normal procurement process in the sense, if you're not having raw material, you are going to get the raw material from the vendor. So that is the normal procurement process. If you want to, if you want the price to be automatically populated into your normal purchase order, so then we need to select the standard as an info category. For suppose if you want the price to be automatically populated into your subcontracting purchase order, so then we need to select the subcontracting info category. And for the consignment process, we need to select the consignment info category. If you are creating an info record by selecting the standard info category, and then if you want the price to be automatically populated when you are going for the subcontracting process and all, it is not going to work out. So whatever the info category we are selecting here, so for that only the price will be automatically populated into the purchase order. So, I mean, how there is a connection in between those means, actually, we are going to have the item categories. We are going to have standard item category. So, item category is a single digit ID. So, which we will discuss later in our next topic, that is the purchasing. Okay, but as of now, I am just telling you. So, we are going to have the standard item categories for each and every procurement process. So, whatever the item category that you have selected in the purchase order, so that will be internally got aligned with this info category. So based on that only the price will be automatically populated to the respective procurement process. Okay. Now enter the vendor number, enter the material, enter the purchasing organization details, and then enter the client. Now click on the enter button. Once you click on the enter button, now see this first reminder, second reminder, third reminder, if you have remembered these things and all, we saw in this material master data purchasing value key. In the purchasing value key, I told you, right? So we are going to have, we are going to mention some, mention some reminders to the vendors whenever he send, whenever he need to send the material to the company, we are going to send some reminder mails to the vendor, right? Okay, so that that thing we can be able to do with the help of this reminder. So if you have maintained those reminders in the material master data, that will be automatically populated here. For suppose if you have not maintained over there, so then we can be able to maintain here. Okay. So if you click on the enter button, now see what is the meaning of this planned delivery time. So planned delivery time is nothing but what are the maximum number of delivery days. For suppose if I mention the, for suppose when I'm trying to create a purchase order, I have mentioned the delivery date after a month. Okay, but here I have mentioned the planned delivery time as 20. So it means whatever the delivery date it is there in the purchase order, that should be within this 20 days only. It should not go beyond the 20 days. Okay, so so that setup also we can be able to do in this purchasing info record with respect to the planned delivery time field. And whatever the purchasing group you have assigned to the respective material, so that purchasing group will be automatically populated into this purchasing info record. And here the standard quantity. What is the meaning of the standard quantity and a minimum quantity? Standard quantity is nothing but, for suppose if you are getting some stationery items from the vendor, okay, it is like at each and every month we are going to get the same quantity, right? For suppose some 100 notebooks or some 200 pens, so something like this, we are going to get the items from the vendor and it's a standard quantity, right? If this material belong to that kind of that kind of items and all, we are going to mention some standard quantity here. What is the minimum quantity? Minimum quantity is nothing but whatever the quantity we are entering here. So whenever you are trying to create a purchase order, in the purchase order the quantity should not fall below this quantity in this purchasing info record. Okay, for suppose if I mention 5 here, so whenever you try to create a purchase order, so at that point of time it should not fall below the 5 quantity. Now what is the meaning of the shelf life? Shelf life is nothing but how many number of days before the expiration date. Like from the manufacturing date to the expiration date, what is the duration of days? So that so that is called as a shelf life. For suppose today is a manufacturing date, okay, and after 20 days we are going to have an expiration date. So these 20 days it is called as a shelf life for this particular material. And this one we have discussed, right? Under delivery tolerance limit, and then over delivery tolerance limit, and then this acknowledgement required, and then the GR based invoice verification. So whatever the things that we have maintained in the material and the vendor master data, so based on that, those fields will be automatically get populated into this purchasing info record. Now the most important one in this purchasing info record is net price. So whatever the price we are entering here, so this price will be automatically populated into your purchasing info record. So like this, we are going to enter the purchasing info record in the SAP. Okay. So if you want to do the changes, you can go to the info record and then click on the change, or else you can click on the display, or else we can use the T codes also. So whatever the material and the vendor we have entered into that purchasing info record, whenever you are trying to create a purchase order, okay, so at that point of time, the price will be automatically populated, depends upon the vendor and the material combination. So this is about the purchasing info record we are going to have in the SAP. At the time of interview, they will ask like, what are the, what is the purchasing info record and what are the T codes to create a purchasing info record, and then they will ask like, other than the price, is there any important fields that you're going to have in a purchasing info record? So like we discussed, planned delivery time, standard quantity, minimum quantity, shelf life. Okay, so all these are the some other important information other than the price in the purchasing info record. Okay, so this is about the purchasing info record we are going to have in the material management. Any doubts until now?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let us discuss about our next master data. These are very, very simple. Source list. What is the meaning of a source list? Source list is nothing but it is a list which contains the possible sources of supply for a particular material. Possible sources of supply for a particular material. What is the meaning of the possible source of supply? It means source list contains the vendors numbers. Okay, like overall the vendors they can be able to supply the material to our company. All those vendors numbers we are going to maintain in the source list. For suppose there is a material 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I am going to maintain like overall the vendors they can be able to supply this particular material into my company. So this source list will be containing all the vendors information who can be able to supply a particular material. So that is the meaning of a source list. What are the T codes? These are very, very important. The T code to create a source list is ME01. It is ME01. And the T code to change the source list is ME04. This is very, very important because all the change T codes in the SAP that is going to be end up with the 2, but only for the source list and the next master data, that is a quota arrangement. Okay, only for these two only we are going to have the T code as 04. Okay, the change T code it is going to be end up with the 4, but for rest of all the things it will be 2 only. Display it is common ME03. So these are the T codes for the source list. Let us see how to create a source list in the SAP. Let me show you the navigation. The same navigation, but go to the source list. Click on the maintain. Now enter a material and the plant. Click on the enter button. So now enter the valid from. Valid from means from which date to which date this vendor is going to be valid in the company. So once we are once we are approaching to the validity end date, so we can be able to extend the validity also. That depend upon their requirement. Okay. Now enter the vendor. Okay, overall the vendors can be able to supply this particular material to our company. We are going to mention all those vendors here. Okay. So like this, we can be able to maintain the multiple vendors list. And the most important thing here is fixed supply source. See, As I said, in the material master data and in the vendor master data, there is a automatic purchase order checkbox, right? If you want to use that material or the vendor in your automatic PO creation, we need to put the checkboxes. And the next thing is, in the source list also, we need to give the tick mark to the respective vendor. So these three are the these three are the prerequisites if you want to create a automatic purchase order. If you want to create an automatic purchase order, the first thing is we need to give the checkbox in the automatic PO in the material master data, and in the vendor master data also we need to put the checkbox in the automatic PO, and in the source list also we need to put the checkbox to the respective vendor in the fixed supply source checkbox. So these three are the prerequisites if you want to create an automatic purchase order. So this is about the source list that we are going to have in the material management. It is very easy. Okay, we are just going to maintain some vendors information. But this source list, if you remember, yesterday in the material master data, in the purchasing view, I told you that this, if you give the checkbox in the source list, it means that we need to create the source list for that particular material mandatorily, right? So we can maintain the source list as a mandatory for some of the materials. I mean, what are the materials and all, the client will let you know. But if you give the checkbox in that purchasing view of the material master data, it means that we need to create the source list for that particular material for sure. If you have not created a source list for that particular material, you are going to get an error in the purchase order. In the purchase order, when you're, when we are clicking on the save button, it is going to throw an error like the source list is not maintained for this respective material, plant and storage location. Okay, so to avoid those errors, if we have given the tick mark in the material master data purchasing view, we need to create the source list for sure, or else we can create it manually just by going to the ME01. So okay, so this is about the source list we are going to have in the material management. And the next master data, that is a quota arrangement. This is also very simple. What is the meaning of this quota arrangement? And one more thing, this quota arrangement, it is not going to be created by the functional consultants. Us, we are not going to create this quota arrangement. It is going to be created by the end users or the business people. So first of all, what is the meaning of a quota arrangement? See, basically, let me take an example. There is a customer, okay? So this customer asked the company to send a product. And to manufacture that product, the company wants some 10,000 quantity of a particular material, okay? If you want to get this huge quantity from a single vendor, he is going to take a lot of time. So what we are going to do? So we are going to divide this bulk quantity into the quotas. We are going to divide this bulk quantity into the quotas. So now we are going to assign each quota to a different vendor so that I can be able to get this material into my location within the respective time. Now, where we are going to get this vendor's information? We are going to get this vendor's information from the source list only. For this particular material, you can go to the source list and then you can check, who are all the vendors available in the market so that they can be able to supply this material to your company. So this is about the source list we are going to have in the material management. Okay. Now the T codes. And once you create the quota arrangement, you are going to create the purchase orders to the respective vendor and the material. Okay. The T code to create a source list is MEQ1. It is to create. The T code to change is MEQ4. This we need to remember very carefully. Why? Because for the source list and the quota arrangement, the change T code, it is going to be end up with the 4. And the display T code, it is MEQ3. So these are the T codes for the quota arrangement. Now let us see how to create a quota arrangement in the SAP. The same navigation, go to the quota arrangement, click on the maintain. Now enter the material and the plant details and then click on the enter button. After that, enter the valid to until which this quota arrangement it is going to be valid. So that validity end date we are going to enter. Now enter the minimum quantity split. So what is the meaning of this minimum quantity split? See, for suppose if I mention the minimum quantity split as 500, so it means whenever whenever we are dividing the quotas, it should not fall below the 500. It should be always above the 500 only. Okay. Once you click on the enter button, the valid from it will take the today's date. Okay. Now select the item, click on the item. Okay. Now what we are going to do? Now select the procurement type. As I said, there are two types of procurement, right? One is internal, another one is external. Always it should be the external procurement only. We are not allowing the internal procurements. Now enter a vendor number and then enter a quota number. I am assigning one quota to this vendor. And what is the maximum quantity that this vendor can be able to supply? See, for suppose here I have mentioned only 2000 to this vendor 1, but this vendor 1 can be able to supply some 4000 quantity in some 24 hours. Okay, so at that point of time, I can be able to assign two quotas to the same vendor. So depends upon the vendor capacity, we are going to assign the quotas to the vendor. Now see, 4000 is the maximum quantity. Base quantity is 2000 only. Now click on the enter button. Now see what happens. And so here the quota percentage, it was 100 to this particular vendor. Why? Because since we have given only one quota to this vendor. Now see, enter another vendor and then enter the procurement type. But here I'm assigning two quotas to this vendor. Now see what happens. Quota number, it is not going to be dependent on this maximum quantity, this maximum quantity or else the base quantity. This quota percentage, it is going to be dependent upon the how many quotas you are assigning to a vendor. Now see what happens. Click on the enter button, click on the enter button. Now see 6633 percentage is 66 percentage and here it is 33 percentage. Why? Because so since we have given, since we have assigned two quotas to this vendor, it is showing as 60 percentage and for this it is 33 percentage. If you assign two quotas to the first vendor, it will become 50-50. So like this, based on number of quotas you are assigning to a vendor, the quota percentages it is going to be determined. And here whatever the quota base quantity you are mentioning here, so based on this we are going to create a purchase order to the respective vendor and the material. Okay, so this is how we are going to create a quota arrangement. Once you click on the save button, a quota arrangement number will get created. Yeah, so it took us to this above programming error. So what is the meaning of this means? For suppose if there is any dump in the current transaction, it will lead to this above programming error. So in the real time, we can take the screenshot and then we can send it to this above people. So they will delete that dump and all, so that we can be able to save our data. Okay, but let me show you how where that quota arrangement number we can be able to see after the saving. If you go to that quota arrangement screen, click on the enter here. So once you click on the save button, so we can see that quota arrangement number in this particular field. So based on this number, we can create the purchase orders to the respective vendor and the material. Okay. So with this, we have completed our master data topic in the material management. And in tomorrow's session, we will see the purchasing topic. Okay. Until now, any doubts from anyone?
Fine, sir.
Okay. So please go through these sessions as many times as possible. Okay. Why? Because as I said yesterday, this is a very new terminology, right? Okay. So kindly go through this as many times as possible and then start doing the practice. Okay. Okay, then we will meet tomorrow at the same time. Thank you all. Bye. Take care.